I am assuming that we're rolling
We are.
because okay, cool. Because I can't put a thumbs up because my my vision's not working. But welcome everyone to this extraordinary live. It's us again, and we've decided to switch our approach. In the past, we used to talk a bit about the differences between coaches and different types of modalities, and this time we're switching into the leadership series. And today we're going to be talking about. Now I'm in my head with the topic for next week, uh, but we'll get to that later. What we're talking about is inspiring vision, and in my opinion, that is something that most leaders do or are capable of. Konrad, do you want to get us into this? What does that mean for you to aspire a vision?
Well, this is exactly what, let's say, one of the primary roles of a leader is, right? And we can still self-leadership ourselves. However, when it comes to that vision, vision is an outline. Vision provides us with direction, clear, concise direction. Also, when it comes to the relationship between that direction and where we currently are, it's so important to also know where we are on a map of life or on a map of any business. When it comes to goals, directions, purpose, all those things, vision is that one thing that holds them all together. And this is even more important than it first seems. Let's take, for example, a word provision. To provide is to offer, find, generate resources, whatever they might be, in order to achieve a certain goal, for example. One of the many definitions we could use here. However, what I like about the word provision is that these are actually two words, pro and vision. Pro meaning advanced, somehow refined, somehow grander. Vision, as described, it already offers us a certain blueprint, a plan, perhaps, a map, perhaps, to how we can of how we can get from A to B to C to D, all the way to Z of a given process, business development stage, company development stage, or company's growth all together. Therefore, a good leader is able to offer that provision, that vision that offers access to resources, to people, time, software, whatever it might be. But somebody needs to be able to um, offer that higher view, the commanding view even, of a given task or a chapter or a stage or the business altogether. And this is exactly the role of a leader. A leader might be the owner of a business, but it doesn't have to be. It can be a dedicated person too within the team, so that the owner can focus on all the duties. However, it is so vital that it is so clear for everyone who the leader actually is, because this person is there to provide that clarity. They are there to hold everything together in a way that only a leader can do. This is a person who energetically, emotionally, and intellectually creates that container, let's say, and offers people clear guidance and direction. They should have maybe not even all the answer, but as many answers as possible, so that the entire team knows exactly what needs to be done and how. And what a better person to speak to about that than Linda, who is such a excellent team builder. Linda, what is a vision for you then?
Yes. So a vision for me is really about expressing clearly about what our goal or direction is in a way that team members can embrace and get behind it. And I know that a lot of times we talk about missions, vision statements, And it's more than just that. In order for people to really get behind something, they have to know where they're headed, and they need to know what their role is. So if they know where the end goal is, what their particular role is, and then they can see themselves in that role carrying it out, then that's when you have a very strong vision that people get behind and can be carried out. Now, you could be really clear on the steps and what the goal is, but if people can't see themselves in it, then it's not going to be accomplished. And in leadership, a good leader is someone that can be trusted, and so they have to be credible. They need to be able to articulate the aspirations of what could be in a way that really capitalizes on the whole idea of what the positive part of what someone is going to experience. So if you can talk about a time when something's gone really well and why it went really well, and people can see how they were a part of it, then it's a matter of taking people on a journey where they have the opportunity to recreate that. And then the other thing is there has to be ownership. So everyone on the team, knowing their role, has to own where we're going and what we're doing and how we're going to do it. Because in absence of ownership, there's not going to be any inspiration or motivation to get behind something if you don't really see yourselves in it. It's like going to a meeting, let's say, and people are talking about a vision or an objective that needs to be met, and you're like, why am I here? If people are asking, why am I here? That means that you haven't articulated the vision in a way that they see themselves inside it. And so you can see just from that illustrative example right there that it's really important that you're able to get to that place.
How would you say you do that, Linda? How do you clearly illustrate that?
Yes, the way that you can clearly illustrate that is through storytelling. So talk about a time when we have gone down a change. You also could use illustrative examples that play to people's learning styles. So if you have a bunch of visual learners in the room when you're talking about your vision to accomplish, that's when you have those charts, graphs, metrics, visual indicators. You have people in the room that are kinesthetic learners, well, then you've got things in your presentation where they can be interactive in the conversation, interactive in maybe playing out some of these different tasks or roles. And then the third thing really is knowing those modalities there. There's also that auditory. Sometimes, using the right word choices, the right messaging, the tonality and energy that you're using to explain, it's all of those. And so when you combine appreciative inquiry about curiosity of repeating a memorable event to get to said outcome, and you do it in a way where you're bringing in all the different modalities, you can actually see if people are attaching and really stepping into seeing themselves in the vision. It's very visible when you're doing it right.
Right. I think that's interesting. I feel like this whole leadership thing and like being able to embody that and being able to stand for your vision yourself is even more important, or like as important in a way. Like what I'm picturing and what would be funny is imagine having a leader who's trying to inspire people into a vision that he doesn't even believe in himself or herself. I feel like that is in a way where it starts too. You as a leader, you got to be able, you got to believe in that vision first, energetically, emotionally. You have to be invested in it, else you can't expect other people to feel the same way and to. I mean, if you as the leader are even wondering, what am I doing here during a meeting? I mean, that's where it starts, and then you can't expect other people to be on board. So I like that, and I think that's important. Thanks for adding that.
Thank you for indicating that, because it really is, you're right. If you're a leader and you don't believe in what you're delivering for your messaging, people can see right through that. Now, you may not always know 100% where you're going. There might be some ambiguity to what you're leading, but then you're humble enough to say that.
Right.
And you do talk to the things that you do know, and you ask for people to ask questions about how they could better, fold into that vision, how they could contribute. And so there, if there isn't that knowing, there's like, what can we do together to build that knowing and get that comfort level so that we can move through this?
I like that. I literally just cut off a conversation where it was very much about being vulnerable as a leader, which is, I think, definitely a topic that we're going to touch upon at some point during these lives. But that does tie into when having that vision, and indeed when it's not clear, as a leader, you got to be vulnerable enough to be able to say, like, right, guys, this is where we're going to, sort of, but I'm not clear on this and this and this. That's where I'm going to need you guys' help. And getting that clarity and being able to, as a leader, take a step back or even take a step down, to just lower yourself from that leadership position to be there as a, hey guys, this is what I'm not clear about. I feel like that's very humble and a good leadership aspect or skill in a way. Konrad, I see you wondering what's on your mind.
Yeah, I think that a good leader knows their limitations, their own
Exactly that.
limitations. They don't appear to be all knowing, all present. It's not exactly what people are after. They are after a human person, so to speak. Human person, right? There was a comma between these two. They are after working with somebody who is relatable, who is true, who is authentic, and they are leading through that authenticity. They can be vulnerable. They can be sharing private stuff or outline that, listen, this is what I'm not good at, right? Let's find somebody within the team who can do it better than me, because that will benefit the whole project, right? This is where a leader is a good leader is asked to step up their own work, let's say, because they don't try to do everything themselves, especially if it were to be to the detriment of the team. Yeah, this is quite an interesting conversation to be had also with oneself. If one is leading a group of people, where is this line when we are ready to actually say, listen, I can do so much, but this particular thing, this is not my forte. Let's find somebody within the team or somebody outside of the team to help us with this particular aspect. And that this is to the benefit of everyone, because a job well done is exactly an exemplary, let's say, this is a prime example, maybe this way. A job well done is a good example of really high quality leadership. From a certain perspective, a role of a leader is to find the right people. And they might not be the right person themselves for a given aspect of the project. So it's good to have this humbleness, even to admit to oneself and to others that, okay, I can do so many things, so many other things too, but not perhaps this. So for the benefit of a team, let's find a better solution, because that will elevate everybody's experience of what is going on. And I've started with, tapping into one's limits. However, this is also such an important lesson for anybody who wishes to manage more people. Just as we, if we are in a position of leadership, we should not imply that people can do everything. We all have certain areas of expertise, that's true. But from a certain perspective, we need to start with ourselves too. This is where we actually outline those limitations very clearly, so that also the entire team knows, hopefully in a very transparent and clear way, okay, as a team, we have those resources, those skill sets, and so on. Okay, if we need this, for example, whatever it might be, well, we better find somebody or something that can provide that particular leverage. And well, I suppose there is also a big skill when it comes to picking the right people for the team, right, Linda?
Oh, absolutely. I absolutely love what you're talking to. It's hard for me to say here or to stay here and wait my turn, but I need to do that. The thing that you had said is, looking at the skill sets of the team and asking as a leader, am I the right person? Is there someone more suited? Well, that's the number one thing that I do with my teams. The requests for information, requests for deliverables can come in a multitude of places. And so, a lot of times we want to be, yes, I can do that. And I will get that to you and I'll do it by said date. But I encourage people to always think about those requests in a different way. Am I the right person, the right time to handle this request, or is someone on the team better suited? Because a lot of times people will call the person that says yes. They will call the people that are available, because we shop around until we can get support and get help, right? And so really, leaders and teammates together should always be asking that. And, a leader's job is not to carry the burden of all of the tasks themselves and to just be the defining person that says yes and no to the assignments. It's about the team having some autonomy in knowing what their skills are and what the responsibilities are, and who else on their team, what their role is, what their responsibilities are, and work across either skill sets or disciplines to be able to best serve or best manage whatever it is that's coming your way. I think that is so important. And so I'm glad you really hit upon that, because I've been an advocate for that particular thing for quite some time now. And it's not in our interest to say yes, that we'll do something just because we're available and can do it, when it can be a learning opportunity even for a teammate, or teaching somebody else how to be resourceful. Because you can share information once about where they could get it, but isn't it better if you direct them on how they could go get the information, how they can serve themselves? That's how we grow.
I agree with
And
that.
this could,
I like that you touched upon. Sorry, Konrad, go ahead.
no. Okay. I think that this is also a part of that, creating that bigger vision for the team, knowing that we will be looking for the best leverage for everyone. We are all to be empowered one way or another. Especially leaders need to understand, let's say, realize that, teamwork is very much about personal empowerment. When people feel empowered, they will give their 100%. If there is lack of clarity, lack of transparency, if there are blurred lines, well, this is where it's actually quite difficult for people to deliver the outcomes they are asked to deliver. And this is exactly the leader who, well, they should be looking at themselves. If there isn't enough transparency in the team, if the team results aren't quite satisfying, this is where the leader is asked to have a look again at whether they are casting a clear vision, whether people understand within the team what needs to be done, how and by whom. In many cases, as we know, vast majority of problems, they stem from miscommunication. People just aren't on the same page. Somehow, I'm a great believer that we all carry our own personal dictionary of every single word, including words like leadership, vision, support, safety, outcomes. All of those words, they can be truly, their definitions are crafted by our everyday life. Therefore, any metrics used can also be anything and everything to a given person. That's why also it's so important that we have that feedback from people so that our team members understand as close as it's possible, that, okay, this is what we wish to achieve. And they can describe it using their own terms, and then we are in agreement. Rather than talking at people, assuming that they will understand what is being said, we can take that conversation to a higher level. Also by making sure that, for example, they provide us with instant feedback in a way of confirming what they just heard, so that we can also then in that conversation agree upon, okay, yes, now we understand each other. Now we know what the team is heading towards, or now we understand what needs to be done. Because in many cases, we are not on the same page at all, as it happens. When it comes to definitions of words, emotional concepts attached to those words, we can be miles away from each other within one team, and this is where problems begin to arise. Therefore, a skillful leader will understand that, and they will provide that space for people to talk about what needs to be done and how, so that everybody on the team can contribute. Therefore, we have this cross-reference of various aspects of what needs to be done. And then, yeah, we are in unison. We are definitely on the same page, as close as we can be, so that a given outcome can be achieved in the best possible way.
Yeah. I like that. I think that's important, especially, or like maybe even more in today's age, where we can just be in teams with people who aren't even from the same country as we are. I mean, us three, we've all been grown
Yes.
up in complete different ways. Our whole vocabulary is, I mean, English is not my native language. English is not Konrad's native language. Like the language part of that, I don't know how passionate you are about that, Konrad. That is very interesting. And I noticed that both of you are lagging. Is that me or is that you guys?
I think you're coming through clearly, and I really love
Oh,
what
okay,
you
cool.
just spoke to about the, the words and the language, and how we're from 3 different countries. And when I talked to the two of you, there's very little differences that I could tell, that unless you told me that like English is your second language, other than the accents that you guys have, or is it that I have the accent?
Right.
But that will also be so much important in these days. Thank you so much for Mick for saying that, and Linda. Yeah, especially if one, for example, leads remote teams, people from various countries, especially with the whole, cultural background for a given person. And I've experienced that, let's say the language taught in other countries for people who aren't in a given cultural sphere, let's say, those definitions of words can be very, very different to those of a native speaker. Therefore, it's even more important for people who do lead, for example, remote teams from other countries, and or work with people from other countries one way or another, so that there is this understanding that we really better understand each other well. Let's make it a priority to make sure that we very, very well, accurately describe that which we are working on, so that we can truly aspire to finish a given project, for example, on time and on budget, so that we can avoid costly mistakes because of cultural lack of understanding of a given concept. And that can play out in many ways. However, there is a lot to be said about, how languages are taught these days, and how those definitions are imprinted, let's say, onto, a person who is learning a foreign language. Sometimes those definitions can be very one-dimensional. A person is told basically that this is what it means. However, in many cases, a definition of any word can be very multidimensional. And so in this context, any description can fall flat with a person from a foreign country, they might lack that cultural reference that a given word or a phrase or a sentence can mean something else altogether from what they were initially taught, maybe even years ago. So that adds another component to that creating and inspiring a vision. The notion of transparency, also when it comes to the language being used, so that that vision is clear to everybody within the team. Also, by the way, that is just as important, for example, when it comes to a client-provider relationship. Outlining a vision of what a client can have by, let's say, buying our product or service is so important. And we do see it sometimes. I don't know whether you've noticed that, but I've noticed it a handful of times, even if not hundreds of times, where I can tell that a description of a product, for example, has been really badly translated. And you sit there thinking, what is going on here? What is this? What is the product? Because the description is so lacking. Sometimes it's down to a level of being amusing. When you just think, okay, this is actually quite funny by now. If only I didn't need a really good description, I would have laughed. So that
Right.
again pinpoints that importance of accuracy, of a description that is being used, both when it comes to vision, whether it's leading a team and or outlining what our client could have or a customer will buy, so that everybody has clarity about the vision that is being cast here.
Yeah, I like that. I agree with that. Another thing that I kind of want to touch upon, because we've touched upon a lot upon the team side of this, the aspiring a vision for a team. I want to take it personal, like for very briefly, because I feel like aspiring a vision is not only important for during your job or in any team or with colleagues or whatever, but also for yourself. You got to know where you want to go with your life, have a certain vision of what your life is all about, where you're taking yourself. You got to be that personal leader, you know. Is there any one of you that wants to tap into that?
I'm thinking, and you're right. Knowing where you personally want to go to cast that vision and being able to communicate it, because a lot of times we think that other people know what we want, but if we're not communicating it, then how would they ever know? And so you're right, that extends to the personal relationships that we have. Knowing what we want and being able to describe it or articulate it to another person again, so they can see it and then they can see what their role is in that vision that you have, if they have one. Maybe they don't have a role in the vision that you've set. They would, if you didn't communicate that, how would they know? Or if you did have one and they weren't really clear on it, well, you have to go back to look to see, did you put it in a way that they could interpret, based again on visual, kinesthetics, auditory. All of those things are always relevant.
And I would also add that apart from having that vision for our own life, right? It's important, even if it is just as a guidance, as direction. I suppose, I think it's a quote from Alice in Wonderland. I'm going to paraphrase it now, just to shorten this experience a bit, but it's this notion of, where is it that you wish to get to? Well, if you don't know
where you're going, any road can take you there.
Exactly that. Yeah. However, if we do want to get somewhere specific, okay, this is where the game begins. This is where a clear vision can be so helpful, because it helps us to make decisions. It helps us to know at each and any given moment what it is that we should be doing, could be feeling, could be being in order to get us there. And on top of that, let's say that there is also something to be said about casting that vision on a family level. Where would we like for our family to be in 5 years' time, 10, 15, 20, 100? Where would you like for your family to be in 100 years' time? You know, generational wealth is a big, big topic, but this is not the end of it. It doesn't have to be just about the money, properties, or otherwise. Casting a larger vision for your family allows you to ever so slowly or even quickly walk towards that outcome, experience that reality. And so many people live these days just from day to day, week to week, month to month. However, there is something to be said about casting that grander vision. Where would you like for your family to be in 30 years' time, 50 years' time? What's the level of wealth, health, relationships, joy, love? One can very consciously create that journey for the entire family unit. And this is also something that can be a lifesaver, literally, a game changer for so many people. Rather than just living from week to week, from month to month, suddenly there is something worth getting up for. Suddenly there is something worth living for. There is something that makes sense. This is where the effort truly begins to make sense. We are building ourselves, our kids, our families for a reason. And
Right.
as it happens, I think it's vital that, you know, there is a person, at least one person in a family who holds that higher vision of where this family could be in 10 years' time, 20, 30, 50, 100 years from now on. Because that also allows us to choose the best options. That allows us to be better people daily. With everything that was said, transparency, clarity, authenticity, vulnerability, everything included. And way beyond that, which we're also going to cover in the future episodes of this leadership series, all of this can be applied just as much when it comes to a business, any professional, let's say, career, our own personal journey, and also on that family level. All of this is just as applicable. And just as much as we might be striving to be a good leader, be it team leader, maybe running a business, maybe running a family. Leadership is something that could and should be taught in schools way more, let's say, commonly than it is at the moment. To create a society of future leaders, people for whom leadership is a function that they provide for the society. And this can be started very early on, because thanks to, you know, personality traits and otherwise, we already know that some kids just have it. They have that propensity, they have that something that a good leader has already. And especially if you, dear viewer, if you happen to have a child like this, please do take care of that child to make sure that they're going to be one of the great leaders that this world will see. Start early, and you're going to see magnificent results. And it is so much needed that we bring about the next generation of next level leaders into this world.
Yeah, I agree with that. I like it. I feel like this was an amazing conversation and a very important one as well. The whole awareness about being a leader and daring to step up and yeah, I just think that is important. So thanks, guys, for touching upon this topic with me and going so deep. I liked it. I enjoyed it. Is there anything you want to add before we end it off, Linda?
Just that we are excited about what we're going to bring to the equation next week. We're going to continue to build on this series. And we thought that we would like to go into how to have difficult conversations as our next topic. And so we would love to have you join us for our live, and we will be sharing the link so that you can join us. And so we want you to put us on the calendar as we go down this series.
Cool. Thanks for adding that, Linda. I enjoyed it, and we'll see everyone next week.